with 6 allegations of harassment among Stockton city officials. At the center of this fight, the city manager and the police union.
The manager says the harassment's actually coming from his own police officers.
For those of us who have done the research, we know that law enforcement in general consists of terrorist organizations. For those of you who have been watching me in my videos for a while now, you know that I've called out the California Peace Officers Association, the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, the CIA, etc. And they have threatened me with planting evidence and taking me to the psych ward and worse if I don't take my videos down. So I will explain to you in a minute the relevance of the following clip about Stockton psychological operations on record by the Stockton police on their own city manager, I believe it was. But first, let me play you this clip. It illustrates my point quite well.
Continues. Officers fire what appear to be beanbags and unleash a canine into a crowd of women and children. We have the disturbing video taken as it happened. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Susie Sa.
And I'm Rob Schmidt. This is KCAL 9 News at 10. We begin tonight with breaking news from Anaheim. Police are facing off.
Now, what's interesting to me is I rarely, if ever, see mainstream, big media corporations such as ABC, CNN, and Fox cover these things, unless local media such as KCAL and what have you covers them first. And that's interesting to note. It implies a greater organization that is thoroughly integrated with our system, with our media and government and mental health and law enforcement and what have you, okay? And political groups. Absolutely, political groups are part of this as well. So how do these people operate with impunity? Well, they have a powerful police union and peace officers associations and police fraternal organizations supporting them. Now, we do not allow terrorists to have a powerful political entity supporting them in court. Okay? It simply doesn't happen. We would stop it right away and say, hey, this money is associated with advancing terrorist organizations, and we would shut them down, the government, that is. So why do we allow the most readily identifiable terrorist organizations to have this inordinate influence on politics? Everyone knows, who's looked into it, that the California Peace Officers Association, these police groups, police unions are some of the most powerful groups in politics. And it makes, sorry, they're gassing me, and I proved that as well. I'll give you the links in the comments. And they stick up for these people that are terrorists on record. Now, some of these Black Lives Matter protests are it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. But there's other incidents where it is blatantly obvious, it is proven beyond any doubt that the police are acting just as bad, if not worse, as terrorists. They're basically there's terrorists that control the government and they collaborate with other terrorists, sometimes even criminal organizations on the street, such as in my case, where you see gang members helping them out, prison gangs, local gangs. Okay, and this, to those of you who know about street politics and prison politics, they're not supposed to do that unless the government is smuggling in drugs for them and they're paying them individually. But they're not supposed to help the government run psych ops on people in exchange for, turning a blind eye to their criminal activities. So how is this going on? Why is it allowed to happen? Well, it's quite simple, and this is what they threaten me because they know that I'm exposing it. These are all fraternal organizations. Prison gangs, for example, are all male gangs, right? And then there's female associates, but they're male gangs. These are fraternal organizations, and because of feminism and the Eastern Star and the rise of female, sororities and secret societies, there's also, female organizations as well. And they collaborate, okay? This is unacceptable. I mean, I've proven beyond any doubt that this is going on with me. I've proven it more than the city manager has. But there is no political group. The city isn't trying to stick up for me. The lawyers are ignoring my emails. The one legal expert that I contacted said it'll be hard for you to find a lawyer, you know, to take on your case, because even though you have definitively proven that there is something going on, it is very difficult to assign guilt and blame, you know, and to prosecute this case, because these are the police officers. They have friends in high and low places who are going to basically investigating themselves, and you don't really have any of them individually caught, you know, caught in the red-handed. You know, you have them acting suspiciously. They know the law, and they have been, you know, breaking it with impunity and in a way that there's plausible deniability. So also, one of the most disturbing things about all this is that the police officers are showing an appalling willingness to accept the blame, just to accept the fact that they're criminal terrorist organizations, you know, that people aren't able to prosecute. And because of this, you know, the RICO Act should apply, and all terrorist related legislation should apply as well. There shouldn't be, they should dissolve the California Peace Officers Association. All police fraternal orders and unions should be dissolved. Okay, period. That's step one. That, you know, that is very obvious here. And the clip I'm about to show you is going to prove that as well. Also, they had the neighbors cut down their tree, which lined, you know, the fence, right? Which reminds me of what the guy's complaining about. Also, there's been construction there, a lot of noise. Recently, not right now, but, you know, for about 6-7 months, there was construction that didn't really seem too productive taking place. So there was the noise campaign, there was the tree harassment. They've given me flat tires, so they've done things to my automobiles. And this is part of a greater, you know, phenomenon taking place across America, where you're seeing people who are harassed in the same sorts of ways because law enforcement has developed a strategy that is working for them. And every single time law enforcement is involved, these groups, the different groups who are affiliated with law enforcement, mental health, you know, the cops take people to their psych wards, you know, prison gangs and gang members establish a certain corrupt relationship with them as well. What you're seeing is this sort of, they're in cahoots, and they are using the same protocols and procedures for harassing people. And it's almost always political. This was the city manager, okay? That's another parallel you can draw that's impossible to overlook. He was a city manager. He said it was for political reasons, okay? I have over 4,000 videos on YouTube with over 10,000 sources. I talk about Santa Clara County Sheriff corruption in my videos. I talk about eugenics and mental health and how it's a pseudoscience that kills 500,000 people a year in Western countries alone with psychiatric medications alone. And more, and much, much more. I've definitively proven all my key points to the point where I offer $1,000 for anyone who can disprove any key point that I haven't retracted myself. So they have much, much more, you know, reasons and motives to do this to me than they did to, you know, Mr. Dice, the city manager, or whatever he was, of Stockton. Much, much, much more motive. And you can see also how immature they are by putting that bumper sticker on his car of a little kid pissing on a pair of dice. Okay? They're very immature. They're sick. They're very selfish. And they're willing to go down in history as terrorists and criminals who operated with impunity. The government must dissolve all police unions and associations. They must take away the power from these groups. And the inability of the two major political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats and the Libertarians as well, to stop this from going on shows that they need to be dissolved as well. We need a whole new system, but we need to start with, you know, getting rid of the police's political support and networks. because they are terrorists that are operating with impunity, and they are provoking people to violence and terrorism. You know, and this brings a lot of credence to gang members' claims in LA when they said that the police were crossing out graffiti and trying to get them to war with each other. These are terrorist organizations that are operating in a very surreptitious manner for the purpose of provoking the fight or flight response in individuals and groups to cause chaos, to give them more funding, to give them more power ultimately with their police unions and more control over society. This is unacceptable. You know, unless America approves of terrorism and wants to go down in history as approving of terrorism and having double standards, this needs to be addressed. And all political entities that are police related at once. Thank you.
KCRA 3 News begins now.
And right now, new at 6 allegations of harassment among Stockton city officials. At the center of this fight, the city manager and the police union.
The manager says the harassment's actually coming from his own police officers. KCRA 3's David Bienick is live for us in Stockton, where it sounds like politics are getting personal, David.
Good evening, Edie. Yes, the city manager lives in that brick house right on the corner there. This house right next door was recently purchased by some new owners. And the manager says those new owners are not only loud and obnoxious, they're wearing badges. Nobody came to the door today at this house in Stockton. Neighbors say it's been empty for months, but recently the house was purchased by some unusual owners.
It is intimidating.
Intimidating, says Stockton Mayor Ann Johnson, because the city manager lives right next door, and because the house was bought by the Stockton Police Officers Association. The same day, contract talks broke down.
Out of all the homes under foreclosure in the city of Stockton, they picked the one right next to the city manager, and they offered full price for it.
Since then, Johnson says city manager Bob Dice has endured construction noise on the 4th of July and watched as the trees lining his backyard were cut down. If this is a real estate investment by the union, county records show it's the only one. A complaint filed by the city claims a pattern of abuse against Dice. In the most recent incident, the city manager claims somebody put a bumper sticker on his car, showing a little boy peeing on a pair of dice. Neighbors say code enforcement officers have been repeatedly called to the cops' new house, but the mayor rejects any suggestion that the city manager might also be engaging in harassment.
He's a big boy. He's not threatened, but he worries about his family.
The city manager's office told us today that he was busy and unavailable to comment on the situation. Meanwhile, repeated calls to the Police Officers Association were not returned. Live in Stockton, David Bienick, KCRA 3 report.